So our next guest is going to help us cover the topic of political change, and he's given a good portion of his life to public service as a congressman, a United States senator, and of course as vice president under George H.W. Bush. He is the chairman today of Cerberus Global Investments. Please welcome to the stage the 44th Vice President of the United States, Mr. Dan Quayle, and my colleague once again, Sara Eisen.
Change your head. You tell me it's the institution. Well, you know.
Thank you. And we were just talking about how your connection and deep roots here in Arizona, people think of you from Indiana, which is where you served Congress. But actually, you're back sort of home here.
Sort of home, yes, absolutely. I was born in Indiana. We came out to Arizona when I was 8 years old, went back when I was 16 or 17. So these were my formative years were here in Arizona, and I've been back since 1997, I think. And I believe this is your first
My first trip to Arizona somehow. I mean, 41 years without
all
being
you
in Arizona.
East Coast people, you need to, come west, you'll never go back. And I did tell you, I said, now be careful
of the scorpions.
Of the scorpions and the rattlesnakes.
I told a lot of you folks at dinner last night that you said, even though we're at the Ritz, check the bed.
But outside that...
Right?
But outside...
I did when I got back last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, now be careful of the little ones, because the little ones are the most dangerous, because they can't control the amount of venom. When they get older, they can hit you once or hit you twice. And I think I told you my wife has been stung by a scorpion twice.
Right.
But she's
fine.
She survived.
Thank God.
She hasn't been bitten by a rattlesnake yet. So that's what people in Arizona.
It's crazy out here.
It's a typical response from the East Coast, because they think of this Arizona, this great state, the Grand Canyon, Sedona, the mountains and the
wild
quality of life. You got the javelina, and so it's the wild west.
It's the wild west.
I hope you avoided those scorpions
so far,
in your bed.
So good. Thank you. Yeah, no, didn't find any. It's so great to have you, and this is such a treat for us at CNBC, and hopefully for you all, because Mr. Vice President, you don't do much. We don't get a lot of chances to hear from you in interviews and in events. So this is really, really special. You choose your settings wisely. So thank you.
Well, I watch CNBC. I watch you. No, I don't do very many of them. But this is an opportunity to sort of be reflective on some of the questions you're going to ask, whatever those questions may be. And I think we'll get some questions from the audience. I love the chairs out there.
Right, the couches.
I mean, golly,
Comfortable.
It's unbelievable. I mean, don't fall asleep here.
All right.
That's what I'm sort of concerned about that. Normally people are on these little chairs like this and they have to pay attention, but now you're sort of back like this.
I know, it's unique. That's one of our signatures. So let's get right into it. Russia, Ukraine. You have so much experience on foreign policy. I think I read that you did 40 diplomatic trips during your time as vice president, and one of the big relationships that you helped oversee was post-Cold War, Soviet Union. So I am curious how you view where we are, more than 3 years, that are part of 3.5 years here into this war in Ukraine, and whether we're really approaching the end.
We're not approaching the end. Putin has no desire to see this come to a conclusion until he really dismantles Ukraine. This is one of the most perplexing issues from my perspective that I can think of. I do not understand Trump's affinity for Putin and why he has not demanded anything of Putin. Here's the great deal maker, right? Manhattan, real estate development, he has done deals his whole life. That's all he wants to do as president, deals. That's the tariffs. He thinks he's going to get a lot of deals. So if you're a deal maker, what do you need? Leverage. What leverage is he trying to put on Putin? Zero. Absolutely zero. Putin says, well, I'm not going to agree to a ceasefire. I just want to talk. Trump says, okay. Even though they had an agreement, listen to this. Trump and the European leaders had an agreement that they would demand of Putin a 30-day ceasefire. And if they didn't agree to the 30-day ceasefire, guess what? Secondary sanctions and more sanctions against Russia.
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen. Putin said, oh, no, let's talk before we get to any kind of a
They
30-day.
spoke yesterday for 2 hours.
But he changed it, and all of a sudden Trump says yes, and where are the European leaders? It just pulled the rug out from under him. So, I mean, I know Trump makes all these decisions spur of the moment, doesn't, need a lot of staff, it's just all him. But this situation is very unfortunate because everyone talks about, not everyone, but a lot of people talk about World War III, and I heard Trump say that to Zelensky in that famous Oval Office meeting. He said, you're risking World War III. I'm going, wait a second. If you really want to talk about who's risking World War III, just let Russia gobble up Ukraine and start to Poland and the Baltics, and then you are going to be talking about World War III. But he's got no leverage. I don't think this thing is going to end anytime soon.
You think Putin's just dragging him along?
Tapping him along. That's what Trump has said. Do you think he's tapping me along? Yes, I absolutely do. He's tapping him along. I mean, this was out of the Russian playbook from the very beginning. We said Putin will not agree to a ceasefire. He wants to dismantle Ukraine. He thinks he can, time is on his side. And so therefore, look where we are. And, Putin is KGB, right? These people are very sophisticated and very smart. They have profiled Donald Trump for many years. They know his weakness. They know his vulnerabilities. They know how to deal with him. And from Putin's perspective, even though he has been very unsuccessful so far on the battlefield, although he's gotten some territory, he was not able to conquer Kiev. And he's been very successful in playing along or tapping along Donald Trump. Now, here's the question. What is Trump going to do when he finally realizes that that Putin is not interested in a ceasefire? That I don't know. He says he's going to walk away, right? What does that mean? Does that mean he's just going to completely wash his hands, cut off aid, just walk away? I don't think so. I think the Congress will have something to say about that. There's still strong bipartisan support for aid to Ukraine in the Congress, and I don't think Trump's going to veto that. But he's very fond of saying that, well, this is Biden's war. And, it wouldn't have happened if I was president. I don't know whether it would have or would have been president. We don't know. But when he says this is Biden's war, I go, newsflash here. You're the president. Biden is not the president. You may not like the fact that you inherited this war, but it is on your watch. And I can tell you that if he completely walks away from Ukraine, which I don't think he will, but he might.
There's a risk.
There will be a significant political price that he will pay, because there are a lot of Reagan national security Republicans that support Donald Trump that will have great problems with that. And the American people do not like war, but the American people do not like losing wars. And if Trump is viewed as a loser on this, there will be a political price to pay. So he's got to figure out what he's going to do once he tries to walk away.
What do you think he should do to end the war?
Well, if you want to end the war, a couple things. You have a lot of money in the Swiss banks that are Russian. Give a bunch of that to Ukraine to fund the war. That'd be for starters. Secondly, I would say give Ukraine more weapons. And third, I would have secondary sanctions on Russia, and all of a sudden, Putin would come to the table. If you would do those three things, he would come to the table tomorrow. I mean, it's sort of like Lenin used to always say about the bayonet, soft underbelly, keep sticking until you hit the rock, and then you pull back. And if Trump would do that, Putin would come to the negotiating table tomorrow.
But you don't see it happening.
I don't think it's happening. That's not what his.
That's not his playbook.
That's not what he believes. He doesn't want to do anything substantive to bring pressure or leverage on Putin. It's very. I don't have an answer to that. The only thing I could possibly think of, because I think that Trump's first president he voted for was Richard Nixon, and he liked Nixon. And there's a lot of similarities between the two, quite frankly, more so than Jackson, what they talk about, Andrew Jackson and Trump. It's more Nixon.
I don't think he'd like either comparison.
Yeah, well, Nixon had a successful presidency until Watergate. But Nixon had a continuous fight with the media. He was, disliked by the elite, looked down upon by the elite. And Nixon got China away from Russia and opened the door. In the back of Trump's mind, he may try thinking of a reverse Nixon. That's the only thing I can think of, and that's faulty thinking and not strategic at all, and something that if that's the reason he's doing this, it's unfortunate. Otherwise, I cannot explain it, and you can ask any of your guests that come on your shows, ask them to explain the attraction that.
No, but the thing we hear is,
we don't know.
At least it's good that there's dialogue, that he's talking, and there seems to be a mutual respect, whereas with the Biden administration, it wasn't clear how or when this would ever end.
Well, the Biden administration, going back real quick, they should have been much more forthcoming at the beginning. They wouldn't give them the M1 tanks, didn't want to give them the F-16, didn't want to give them the HIMARS, didn't want to give them the ATACMS, didn't want to give them any of the sophisticated weapons that Ukraine wanted. Same way with Obama. He wouldn't give them the Javelin anti-tank missile. It was Trump that actually did that. No problem that Trump's talking about is talking. He wants peace. He doesn't like war. That's all very positive. But when you are so one-sided, that's a problem. And he is clearly one-sided. And why he's doing that, I don't know. That he feels this is the best way to resolve it, but he knows it's not going to get resolved. And he says he's going to walk away. What does that mean?
And we should be clear, you supported President Trump, correct?
I
voted for
him? Yes.
3 times.
Yes. 16, 20, and 24.
Because
And
you didn't like the
28.
alternative?
Pardon?
Because you didn't like the alternative?
Correct.
Do you have a relationship with the president at all? You went to the inauguration.
I went to the inauguration. I talked to him at the inauguration lunch briefly. It's more of a golf relationship. He's a golfer. I'm a golfer. He doesn't call me up for advice on Putin. If he did, I'd tell him just what I told you.